find an individual plan based on what someone announces loud what their fears are. Because I think we walk around daily in our lives hiding our fears.
Yes.
That's therapy. Therapy is usually very beneficial in the sense that you can find the right therapist that even allows you to be honest enough to express your fears so that you then can get help. We actually run from our help because, you know, especially if you got people depending on you, you typically don't want to show them you're afraid of it. You don't want to create that anxiety in them. And so by you hiding the fear, you end up not being prepared when it happens because you spent a lot of your time hiding it. That's what I've gathered out of this conversation. Go ahead, Mariko.
Oh, I think you just hit the nail on the head there. Is one, are people really asking themselves, what are they afraid of? And two, you know, with those fears, when they think of it, does it tend to create anxiety and worry? And if it does, then that is an indication, you know, that they need to start preparing for, should they have to be faced with this fear, what are they going to do and how are they going to deal with it?
Yeah, we usually never want to ask that question.
Yes.
No. We kind of accept that we know we're not quite prepared. So we stop at asking that last question. Well, what exactly would I do? We almost, like Dr. Hill said, we hope it doesn't happen. And then once it happens, once you have to deal with it, you have to deal with it. But that moment can be, whether you deal with it or not deal with it, often can be predicated on whether you had prepared for it or not. A disaster can turn into a larger disaster because of what we failed not to prepare, because we never asked the question, what am I going to do? And part of the reason I think we don't ask that question is we already assume we don't have an answer.
And one of the things that I would recommend is I call it a life audit. So if you were to take your life and put it into 7, 10, 12 categories or sections and ask yourself, how am I doing in this area or category on a scale of 1 to 10? And you have to answer honestly, you know, and then anything that's less than, I'm just throwing out a number here, that's less than a 5, you know, you need to spend some time getting yourself better prepared in that area of life. The big areas that we tend to focus on are our jobs, careers, family, and finances. But there are a lot of people, you know, that were in a crisis because their social network was taken away. There are a lot of people, you know, that were in a crisis because they were no longer able to, you know, participate in the physical and sporting events that kept their sanity going. So I'm just kind of going through these areas of life that we typically don't think about and how important they are and what would happen if they were removed. So I think it would be great if, you know, people would do this life audit and say, how am I doing in all of these areas of life? And do I need to go get that insurance policy, you know, that Dr. Hill is talking about for this area, or find someone that can help me, you know, decrease, reduce, or relieve my stress, anxiety, and worry about that category.
Rico, you can actually Google it, and I send it to a lot of my clients. I have a specific one that I use, but anybody could go out, and there's a thing out there you can Google on the internet called a life wheel. Mm-hmm. It's called a life wheel, and it's got those 8 to 10 categories in it. Most of them have the same basic 8, but some of them have an additional 2. And if you Google life wheel, they'll show you exactly those areas in which you can go and do an assessment. And the goal is, like you said, if you're 5 or less here, you probably need to do some work to stabilize that area, because if a crisis comes, you're probably not emotionally prepared to handle it.